Friday evening, this is turning out to be. Welcome to this special show on NDTV Profit, where Neeraj and I are going to attempt to decode what really happens after all of the events of the last 24 hours and less, actually 12 hours odd. Neeraj, we didn't know when it could happen, but it was always a possibility that the Supreme Court just could come in and say that this law that you've used from the 1970s, IEEPA, is not something that you can utilize in this way. So this was known.
This was known. Okay, before I give, I would look at it from the lens of the market's perspective. What do you make of all that's happened in the last, let's say, 12 or plus hours. 2, 14 odd hours?
14 odd hours. Okay, so here is my take, and I will start with that. The Supreme Court deeming tariffs unlawful is a huge political blow as well. It's not just a blow to what Trump is doing in terms of governance, it's a huge political blow as well. Trump has imposed fresh 10% tariffs almost immediately and says that he will impose others under various other sections that he will now look at. But the fact is that the sting has been taken out of the tariff weapon, this tariff stick, which was used generously against all other nations. The sting has been taken off. I'll just go back to one line from the Supreme Court. After all, the United States is not at war with every other nation in the world. So that sting goes out. Trump says tariffs with India remains, but remember there's an Indian team in Washington who has to ink that entire deal, and they just got more teeth. So this will be one space to watch in my view. Now, analysts estimate there'll be a 2.5% downward revision on Trump's tariffs effectively. This is what BOFA is saying, including what he has announced. So it could be in the range of 8.5. We will have to wait and see where our rate settles. Is it from 18 to 10 effectively? Are they going to stick to 18 because that's what we negotiated? I think that's a bit up in the air. Another big question to my mind, what happens to the $175 billion that the US has collected in tariffs? Do they have to refund it? And he says that will be in court for maybe the next 5 years.
Yeah, but by that time he'll be long gone. So I think that's maybe not his headache. Even if it is, he's going to push it on to the next administration, I would reckon. I kind of almost agree with everything that Tamanna said. From a lens of how the equity markets or risk assets take it, I think tariff uncertainty going away is a plus. All things considered, it is a plus because any form of, markets are a slave to earnings and certainty. Any form of uncertainty going away, I would reckon that the markets will take it well. At the margin, India's relative beneficial rates also go away. Now, the jury's out there. It's split right down the middle, you would argue. Some people believe back to usual is great. Some people believe India had 18, some of the other competing nations maybe at slightly higher, China at 33. Does this actually, with everybody coming back to 10%, is that a net negative? I would suspect not, but the jury is out there. This is debatable, and I think we'll talk about this during the course of the show. Markets are very likely to cheer the verdict on Monday morning, and I think in some sense what we saw yesterday was a brief indication. It's not a big bang 4% up move that is out there, but we'll probably likely to see some cheer on Monday. And frankly, now if you think of it, now that the tariff uncertainty is back out, earnings growth as well as macros will now take center stage, and you would suspect that this is how it is going to be. People will now start following earnings because people will believe in all earnestness that at least that one uncertainty which could impact valuations is out.
I have a slightly contrarian view.
On
the last part, if I may, that the uncertainty is out. I think the uncertainty is back with a bang. The uncertainty was out when you knew you were at 18. Now, you just don't know what's going to happen. We have not signed that 18% tariff deal yet.
But he's just said, right, that we are going to 10% for all nations.
He has said we are going to stick with our deal with India. He has imposed 10% under one particular section. He has 4 other sections to impose more tariffs on, which will be specific to sectors. So some will impact steel, etc. Some will impact others. Some will be retaliatory tariffs in the sense if he can prove that these are unfair practices, then they come in. I think one whole Pandora's box has opened up versus before where it was clean and straight.
Okay, here's my question then, just before we get our guests, right? What happened immediately after 26 Jan and India and the US signing this favorable agreement, seems that both countries are on the right side of each other. If anything, this is a Supreme Court decision, not something incited by India per se. One would suspect that what Trump will do will not be net negative to India versus some of the other
That
countries.
I agree with
so therefore, the uncertainty out the window.
No, will not be net negative to India. That uncertainty of how he would change his mind was there a day after the deal was announced. And you saw that in the markets as well. So the sentiment to India is positive, has always been there, but it's not always played out in his actions. My only worry is that you will now have a lot of this back and forth. What happens to the refunds that the US has to give? If they have to give refunds, they have to give them to the Indian nation as well.